Hello everyone and welcome. I am Dheeraj Sarwaiya, a product manager at Meta with over 16 years of experience. In this video, we are going to tackle common product sense question from Meta's PM interview. This is the only product sense video you will need to ace Meta's product sense interview. Every one of my students has cleared this round without exception. If you want to watch more such tutorials, please like and subscribe. I believe honing your product sense is crucial for PM. In fact, when I was preparing, I was focused on product sense and analytical thinking, not just for interviews, but to excel in my role. I've been training candidates for Meta PM interviews for years. We will dive into one of the most popular product sense questions asked at Meta. The question is design parking solution for Google Maps. When faced with such questions, people often feel confused about how to begin, what steps to take, and the most effective approach. Here is my first recommendation. My consistent advice is to avoid overthinking. Instead, simply follow your curiosity. For instance, consider what is the core of this question. Why would Google be interested in developing this product? Who are the intended users? Focus on fundamental aspects: what, why, who, and how. My second recommendation is to always use tables instead of long form document for structuring your thoughts. This is most effective way to visually represent your thought process and leverage previous steps in your current work. To my knowledge, no PM experts on YouTube use this method. My third recommendation is to always share your screen when answering for two reasons. First, it allows the interviewer to easily follow along. Second is assist interviewers in submitting their notes, saving them time and allowing for greater engagement with you. My fourth recommendation is for the table to have simple 3 rows structure. Let me put it over here. So generally this is what I do. 3 rows. So this is basically stages. This is like details. The first for naming the stages, the second is for details, and the third is prioritization. I keep prioritization as a separate row because many times people forget. And as a PM, prioritization is super important. It ensures that we focus on the right users, addresses the correct problems, and propose the most suitable solution. So let's go back to design a parking solution for Google Maps. To better understand this, consider asking these questions. We are in first stage, it's called what? What is Google Map? Google Map is basically what individuals uses for planning. And then you say like, what is parking solution? So parking solution for whom? Is it for drivers or for parking providers? It's good to always clarify these things in advance. Then you can also ask like location. What is for this? Which location is this for? Is this for US or some other place? And of course, the platform which we already covered. Is it for Android, iPhone, or website? Let's assume we got this answer, so we know our understanding of Google Map is correct. Google Map is very popular, so you probably skip this, but sometimes they ask you questions which you don't know. Like it happened with me. They asked me about a product which I never heard of. Parking solution, we say like drivers. Location is say US, and it is for all platforms, let's say, right? After this, once we have this clarifying question, our next stage should be, let me bold this. Next stage is why. The question is to understand why does Google Maps want to build this solution? Why would their users care? To understand the motivation behind Google and the Google Maps product team, we should consider their mission and vision statement. You don't need to have a mission and vision. Sometimes their objective can also be discerned by observing the latest trend. Google mission is to organize and access the world's information. If you don't know this, you can always ask the interviewer. Google Maps mission is to explore and navigate your world. Let's keep this in mind. Why do users use Google Maps? So users primarily rely on Google Maps for navigation, route planning, real-time updates, and traffic information. A parking solution would be super useful, would naturally complement these existing uses. Addressing an additional user need, this integration could potentially boost user engagement and reinforce their dependence on Google Maps. Now we can tie everything together. Why this is an important product? Let me just make this a little bit clear. So why they want to build it? First, enhanced user experience, user increased, let me just move this as well, increase user engagement, and of course valuable data, which is basically what Google wants. This gives us a little bit of idea like why Google maybe or Google Maps would maybe interested in this kind of product. We can move to the next step, which is who is it for? Who are the user? We cannot build a solution or build our solution for everyone. We must identify our core groups. My fifth recommendation is to avoid segmenting users based on age, income, or any demographic data. Instead, prioritize based on behavioral or skill-based data. For instance, a child might dislike ice cream while an elderly person loves it. Segmenting by age would miscategorize them. Google Maps user can be categorized into 4 categories, I would say. Daily commuters, mostly like office goers, let's say, and then who are traveling for leisure. I think it should be this leisure, like for restaurant, malls, market, fun activities, and then you have like tourists, and then you have event goers as well. Another tip, you don't have to go overboard with these segmentations. It is okay if you have some overlap. Try to have at least 4 or 5 so that you can show the interviewer that you know how to deep dive and prioritize these segments. Don't go for more than 5. It's okay to add or remove user segments later. It's fine. You can discuss with the interviewer if he's fine with these segments. So before we go into these, we have to prioritize, define your criteria beforehand. Again, for criteria, don't overcomplicate it. Set a simple criteria such as frequency. You can have frequency, you have market size, and in this case I'm saying criteria, in this market size, and maybe intensity of need. Let's go back. Who are the daily commuters? These are the office goers. They basically, let me do this. These are daily commuters. They go to work every day. They already know their route. Probably they have parking in office. Most likely they don't use Google Map daily. So from that perspective, you can say even though frequency is high, the market size is still low, the intensity of need is low because these people are already familiar with the routes. Tourists are people who are visiting from different cities. Tourists and event goers are less likely to drive, preferring ride-sharing services like Uber, taxis, or public transportation. Temporary parking is often provided at these events. So from this perspective, they don't drive. Event goers, predefined parking, or people have other arrangements. On the leisure side, you can see that people who are going to different restaurants or market, these are like mostly locals. They're exploring malls, restaurants, and going for shopping. These places are generally congested. They have expensive parking, limited ability of space. You can immediately see that people looking for leisure activities may have parking problems. So it is the most important segment. These guys will always have a Google map and try to find parking. We prioritize this. Again, the benefit of using table is that you can now refer this in your next step. Before I move ahead, I want to tell you that you are welcome to reach different conclusions as long as you can clearly articulate your decision making process. It is always a good idea to confirm your user segment with your interviewer. This brings us to recommendation number 6. Always involve your interviewer. Failing to do so might lead them to believe you are not collaborative and tend to act without consulting others. Further, recommendation number 7. Practice thinking aloud. This may not come naturally to everyone, so practice. As you can see, as I think, I write, I speak. You should be doing as well during the interview. Once we identify who are the main user segment for us, we prioritized one. Ideally, you should have only one. Maximum you can have like 2, but try to keep it to 1. Most of the people jump from who to problem statement. That's not correct. You should always go to user journey. Here comes the recommendation number 8. To truly understand user needs and avoid premature problem solving, always begin by mapping out the user journey. By stepping into users' shoes and experiencing the product from their perspective, you build empathy, which is crucial for effective product development. Let's start our user journey. When people want to go somewhere, they start with planning, then they drive, because this is for drivers, then they look for parking, finding parking, then doing actual activity, then finding car, you want to come back, and then you probably sometime repeat, so you want to go to other destination. Now we can go from user journey in each of these steps and try to see what actually user do in all of these phases. In the planning phase, user goal is to find affordable and convenient parking spots in advance so that they don't have to worry about when they reach there. So this is what is their goal is. So how do they achieve this goal? They open the Google Maps, search for their destination, then look for parking nearby. Let me do this. Okay, look for parking nearby. Once they find it, check the rates, open hours, etc. Once you know this, you set this as the destination. Now when you go to driving, once you start driving, sometimes they get stuck in traffic. It is taking longer than expected. Now they are not sure whether the parking would be available or not. So they have to think about finding new parking place. So all these subphases in this user journey is very important. This is how you basically empathize with the customer. Always use user journey. Now once you've reached destination, then you have to find the parking. If parking is available, this is fine. If parking is not available, then look for other places, probably circle around the parking lot. There may be multiple floors, and then wait for other cars to leave, park your car, buy a ticket. Before you buy it, actually you remember the spot. You buy a ticket and then remember the spot and time, because you don't want to, if it's a 2-hour parking, you don't want to go like 2.5 hours. After that, you do your activities. Just you need to make sure like you keep track of the time, and then once you come back, you want to basically find the parking spot, look for your ticket, which I always forget, check out where to pay, see if they accept card or cash. If you don't have cash, then look for ATM or find some cash somewhere. If you're going to the next destination, we do everything again. So this gives us a clear idea what user do when they go to some destination and how they look for parking. The next stage is finding problems. The great thing is we already understand user journey. So all we need to do is look at our user journey, find the problem, and then put it over here. Here comes the recommendation number 9. Identify problems by using the user journey. This approach offers structure and helps uncover issues an outsider might miss. So from a planning stage, let's go to planning stage or planning phase. Finding parking on Google Map is not easy. Not sure if parking would be available. And then rates, you can see like pricing and structure and timing are not clear. Then payment is not clear. You don't know whether it's cash only or Visa only, MasterCard only, you don't know. All of these problems comes during the planning stage. When you are driving, as you know, you can get stuck in traffic, you get late, and then you need to, instead of focusing on driving, you need to find another place for parking. This is very dangerous. Please don't do this. And once you know the place, you have to set it as destination. Once you reach the destination, parking is not available. You have to look for the place. Sometimes you cannot look for a place while you are driving. So you have to find a safe place to stop and look. This is important because this could be very dangerous. And then once you know, you go to the parking lot, then you have to find the place inside. You are not familiar with the building, you may not familiar with the parking lot, so you have to keep circling around or find the spot. Then you have to figure out where to get the parking ticket. Remember to keep the parking ticket safe. Remember the location and time, which we already covered. And then once you are done with this, you move to the next step, which is doing activity. Once you are done with that, you return to your car. You forgot where you parked. These are the problems. I'm giving you an example how detailed you can go, but you can always keep it short. You should able to calculate parking cost, look for cash, and if somebody is behind you, you have added stress of doing this quickly in the repeat stage. You need quieter place to do the planning for next destination. All these problems are genuine problems because we went through the user journey. We cannot solve all of these problems. We can have a criteria over here. These are my criteria. You can choose whatever you want. Frequency, maybe intensity, size, time, alternatives. You have all of these. After this, you try to find out which are the good problem to solve. Finding problem is not easy. This is a good problem. Not sure if parking is available. You don't know about the pricing structure and timing are not clear. Payment methods, this is a good problem. So you can say these are good problems. You want to solve these if possible. Then you have stuck and you don't know while driving. This is a good problem. I would say you don't have to go through entire thing, but at least at a higher level you can say from frequency wise this happens. Every time I plan it, it's a very intense. From intensity wise, user is actually under a lot of pressure while doing this. The size is huge, time consuming, and all those things. You can do this, like once you know this, you can probably find some solution here. But for now, I would be basically just prioritizing these three, basically payment method and all those things. So if payment method is there, and I also want to say this is also very stressful. You want to pay quickly. This is an important problem. After this, now we identify our key problems. Now we go to the solution. For the solution part, here comes my recommendation number 10. Avoid the pressure of finding overly complex solutions. Begin with simple approaches and don't limit your initial ideas. Sometimes a more effective method is to envision the ideal magical user experience, assume unlimited resources and technology, and then work backward to develop the realistic solution. I want to remind you this. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to make more such videos. Let's start with our solution. First of all, you know that finding parking on a Google map is difficult, you can say parking cards. So like destination, you can have parking cards. Whenever user is searching for nearby destination, the parking cards would appear. It will basically have information about walking distance from parking to actual destination, payment method information, whether they accept card or do they need cash, pricing structure, is it for 1 hour, $6 for 1 hour or $6 for 3 hours, something like that. That information would be useful. And then you can also have like safety score, because you don't want to park somewhere where there is a serious threat of somebody hurting you. Second idea could be save user preferences. Like personally, I have some preference. I don't pay more than $20 for parking. If it is more than that, I try to go a little bit further. Having this parking preference, customer pricing range could be like free to $0 to $10 or $20. And then you can have like walking distance. There are a few people who don't want to walk more than 10 minutes. I'm fine with walking 30 minutes. So the user preference could be like super useful. And payment method, I don't carry cash, so I prefer parking places that accept cards. There may be some users who prefer cash. The third idea could be, you can have like multiple ideas for same problem, but here I am just giving an example. We can say when user is driving to a destination which is like 1 hour away, instead of setting the parking right away, you can have a feature where like once user is 10 minutes away, it automatically search for parking spaces nearby and update your destination. Tell them like, hey, the parking is now available, is not in this lot but the nearby building, and they are updating the destination. And then another solution is related to payment, basically integrating parking with say Google Payments. This will solve a lot of problems. You go to any parking place, it integrates with your Google Map and you automatically pays it. That would be a great solution. Moonshot idea, it is great if you can come up with. It's not mandatory. Don't stress yourself if you're not able to come up with a moonshot idea. My moonshot idea over here is connect Google Map with inside parking cameras. Google Map will always know where the parking is available. So this could be fantastic, but as you can see, this requires a lot of effort. So we will handle like which one we are going to pick in our prioritization. So for us here, the criteria, say frequency, effort, and confidence of able to deliver this. So based on that, I would say from frequency of use, this would be like most used. Probably effort is relatively lower than moonshot idea. Moonshot idea would require a lot of effort, and because you have to integrate with so many payment methods and so many destinations, you have to ask parking owners to integrate, build their API or something, and then share their security. This is like a privacy concern as well. So I would not select this. I will also not select this because Google strength is not in this. It would be very difficult for them to do. So from that perspective, I will prioritize this. If we can do this, then this is like super easy. Once you have this, then you have this one. So I would say if this is one, this is say P0, then in the next stage you can actually do this one. And once this is done, you know the preferences, you know the like this information is already available, you have the preferences, then you can probably do this one. So I will say like first, second, and third. So this is how I will solve this problem, and you can see that this is quite clear, very well structured. Interviewer would love this. It's very interviewer friendly. I would always recommend people to follow this approach. Hopefully after this, you have enough time for interviewers to ask you some follow-up questions. This is very important. Always give some time, like at least 10 minutes for interviewers to ask follow-up questions. We will cover those questions in future videos. Please like and subscribe to this video so that I am more encouraged to make this video. If you want to do a mock with me, then the link in the description. It's best to limit mock interviews to 1 or 2. I don't recommend people to do like 10, 20 or even more than that. After some time, the return on investments diminishes. Avoid conducting mocks with individuals who are unprepared or inexperienced in such interviews, because they end up wasting your time, and sometimes they end up giving you wrong advice. Overall, thank you for watching. Feel free to connect me on LinkedIn, link in the description. I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.